Hi Stampers, this is Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. I'm here with today's Facebook Live. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I go live right here on Facebook every Monday at 2:30 Mountain Time. Today we are making a fun card that's kind of a twist. It's a triple pocket twist, and I had seen another demo make this one that looks a bit like a pumpkin in a Halloween thing, and I thought that was so cute. The little belly band slides off and then it opens up and it has pockets on the inside, and so you can make little inside sentiments, write your little note, or even create include a gift card. So today we're going to be making that in a bit of a Christmas version. So this is the one we're making today. It doesn't, I mean, I'm using a stamp set. I'm going to use Sweet Little Stockings, but it can really be done with anything because mostly what we're using is the trimmer and our scoring tool, which I am in love with. Let's get started. So this is where we're going to be working, and this is the card we're making. Like I said, it's got a belly band and then it opens up in kind of a twist fashion and has 3 pockets on the inside. Because this one takes some funny little cuts, what I'm going to do is bring in my trimmer and show you all the cuts from the beginning. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up. I guess we can go this way so you could read it. And I'm going to cut this at 8 1/8, which is going to be 8 and then over 1, 2 little marks. So kind of right before the 8 1/4. And then we're going to twist it, and we're going to do this one at 8 1/4. Then we're going to need our inside pockets for the card, and so these are going to be cut at 2 1/4 by 4. These are the little pieces that go inside to write your sentiment and your little note. Okay, so these two are 2 1/4 by 4, and to put the white layer on top of it, these would be 2 by 3 3/4, because that gives us the 1/4 inch border around that we normally have. And then I've already in advance cut some designer series paper to do the decorating, and so I have one piece that is 2 1/4 by 4 and 2 pieces that are 2 1/4 by 3 7/8. And these ones, the 3 7/8 version, we're actually going to cut diagonal. That's why they needed to be just a little bit smaller. We're going to put those in the trimmer. And we're going to go from the top right to the lower left corner. And we're going to cut them both the same so that our angles go the same way. And that way they will all show the same side of the designer series paper once they're on the card. Oh, and I must have cut this one backwards. See, I just told you that. Didn't I just tell you that? Or needed to be the same cut, and I went diagonal. So I guess this one will look a little different. See, even as professionals make mistakes. Luckily, that one's not too major. And so we're going to come in and do this one. And so I have this one off to the side to show you kind of what it looks like. This is what we're going to create. And so I'm going to come in here on the 8 1/8 side, and we're going to score this one at 1/2 inch, 2 7/8, 5 1/4, 7 5/8. Then I'm going to spin it. This is the 8 1/4, and we want to cut this or score this in half. So we're going to score this at 4 1/4. Then you'll notice I have this white chalk line down the middle of my simply scored at the 6 inch mark. So I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to start right here at this 1/2 inch mark, and I'm going to come down to this corner. So I'm basically going to go diagonal across this one and then continue across this one. So it will go diagonal all the way down across 2 of the panels. So that's going to be one. Then I'm going to push it over and we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to go from this one down to this one. Hopefully you guys can see, I'm going to go from here down to here. And I realize these are kind of some funny score lines. You have to kind of think about it as you do it, but it is doable. And this is what you're going to end up with. Now, in order to make it fold up, we want these score lines to be good and flexible. So we're going to go ahead and score them and fold them both directions and make them kind of flimsy. You're going to think it's a little too much, but it's not. That's what's going to help us fold it into the shape we need it. And then I'm going to remove this tab and I'm going to remove this tab. And the way to know which ones you're removing is it's the one where the score line does not run into it. So we're going to do this top one here and this bottom one here. So they're on the full panel that has no diagonal. Those two are coming off. And once I score this some, you're going to see this a whole lot better. It's an 8 1/4 and we're scoring at 4 1/8. So it's just in half. Then I went and scored it both directions, and then we're going to do the same with these. We're going to score them all one way, and then we're going to score them all the other way. So this is what's making it good and flexible, that's going to allow us to twist it into the shape that we need. Now, like I said, we're going to remove these two that are on the panel with the no score line. And I suppose it doesn't matter. We just want one upper, one lower, because this is what's going to connect it. And I'm going to go ahead and angle the edges so that we have kind of a tab. And then these are the ones that are going to connect it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put some tear-in tape along here and along here. Okay. What I want to do is I want to go this way. I'm going to adhere these. Put some tear-in tape along there and along here. Okay, so this is how it went together. So these corners here are the 2 1/4 by 3 7/8. They were cut diagonal. They all have the fat end on the same side, and that's the way they went down. And then I put the one full piece that was 2 1/4 by 4 up here. Now these tabs are going to fold in, and we're going to adhere this together, and then it will pivot. And once it pivots, it's pretty good about staying there. It's the initial getting it there that gets a little confusing. Okay, so since this is the full piece, I'm going to pull this one down and push that back. Pull this one down and push that back. So see how that was put together? And again, it's a little bit wonky when you first put it together, but once you put it together, you've burnished it really well, it's held together with the belly band for a while, it kind of has a memory, and it will stay that way. So is this making sense? Can you follow that? Now we have these pieces that are going to go on the inside. These can be the sentiment and where you write your little note to them. And then I used our ornate frames to make some pieces to go on the front. And the ornate frames have die cuts that will nest one inside of each other and match up. So now we're going to do some stamping. Let's ink up just half of this one. That's something I don't mention that we can do often enough, is that we can ink half of this and either make it stacked, or we can use a different, like we're going to use Very Merry and then Christmas underneath it. And I think I'm going to come in with just some greenery for the top, so I can stamp in red and then green. So I'll bring in the same green. We've got our Old Olive, and real red. Let's bring in some blocks. What I'll do is I'll set it on my grid paper so that it's straight, and then align my block with the grid paper straight. So hopefully that is. Do the same thing. Yeah, I like these dies. They're very detailed, and they're not always perfect, but sometimes they just are. This one's just the right size. And then, like I said, I'm just going to do one of these with our greeting and leave the other one blank to write our message. Now with this one, I only want Christmas, so I'm going to bring it over to my ink pad very carefully and only ink up that side. I don't want any ink on the word greetings. So I'm just doing a partial inking. If I did happen to get some on there, it could easily wipe off with a baby wipe. You want to make sure you get the non-alcohol ones. And there we go. There we have a very Merry Christmas, which we wouldn't have had if we hadn't remembered that we could partially stamp or partially ink one of our stamps. Just so it doesn't look lonely, we can come in with some greenery in the corners, and then we can do the same with the other side to make it match. Yes, you could also use the marker. You use the brush end of the marker. You wouldn't want to use your Stampin' Blends. You want to make sure it is the Stampin' Right marker. And they have two ends on it, and you want the brush tip, and you would just glide it along the side. So you wouldn't go straight down. You come in at an angle, and you can come this way. And this is great for using a portion of the stamp with one color, or say you had one stamp that was a flower and you wanted the stem of the flower to be green and then the top to be pink or yellow, whatever. You could strategically apply your ink using your markers and get multi-colors on one stamp. And then if it takes you a little while to color it up, then you would huff on it, which I know sounds a little weird, but you just take your breath and you breathe on it, and that re-wets the ink, so when you go down to stamp, you get a good impression. So yes, good point, Wendy. Thank you. Okay, I oozed a little too much glue. It sat open on my desk for a little too long, and it started to dry at the corner. So I have kind of a blob. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my other piece of paper, and I'm just going to let them touch. And that will lift off some of the glue and put it on the other side. And so there's our two pieces. We can put one on this side, one on this side, and then maybe a gift card in the middle. Okay, so if this is full, this to go down, and this one to go down. Okay, now see, they're fitting a little tight in here. And again, that's not catastrophic. What we can do is we can come over to our trimmer and just give these guys a little bit of a trim so that they don't get caught when we fold it up. This also works if you didn't quite get your mat on straight and maybe your white in the middle isn't centered. You can come back in with your trimmer and make it centered. And now we're ready for our belly band. And you can either make the belly band and attach the piece to it, or you can attach the piece to the card on just one side. I don't know if you can see this here, but I've only got dimensionals on the bottom so that my belly band can slide over and hit the top. So it will allow it to slide behind, and then it stops when it hits my dimensionals that are down here. We made the belly band by using a 1/2 inch by 11 inch strip, and then We can either measure it and score it, or you can just kind of fold it over and say, okay, that's about where I want it, and then adhere it in the back. Now you don't want it super tight because you want it to be able to slide on and off. So give it a little bit of wiggle room, and then just put some tear and tape back here and adhere the two together. And then, like I said, I just took my frame, and we can go ahead and put the sentiment on it. And then we can pop a few dimensionals on the bottom and adhere it to the card. So there we go. There is our triple pocket twist card. You can see here for this Halloween one, this has been together a while. It just, see what I mean? It just falls together. And I pushed this one off to the side and then put 3 little enamel dots over on the other side to balance it out. So thank you for joining me. I will be back next Monday. Thanks for joining me. Bye.